Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and today I've got game number 2 of a best of 3. It is from RedBull BattleGrounds New York and it is going to be between, in the top right position, the blue Zerg player representing Team Liquid, Snute. And his opponent down in the bottom left, the red Protoss player representing SK Gaming, MC. MC currently 1-0 up in this series after quite a long game 1 on Yonsu, where actually the two of them had a good little duke out. Snute going for a very Swarmos heavy composition, Swarmos Viper pretty much only. And unfortunately, for Snute at least, MC was able to thwart it and just did a good little push out with some Storms and some Colossi, just picking apart Snute's army, denying a 4th expansion, and Snute just didn't have the economy to stand up to the might of the Protoss. This game, MC seems to be going down a bit of a different route, dropping a pylon down on the low ground of Cloud Kingdom. Hasn't yet shown whether he's going to go for a Forge or a Nexus first. Could hypothetically be a Gateway down there too, but just because it's so late, seems a bit more unlikely. Now for the moment, MC just coming up and in. He's going to get a good little look at what Snute's doing to see whether there's a spawning pool down or not yet. Now, Snute in terms of timings, probably wouldn't be getting a spawning pool yet. He'd wait for one more drone, getting around the 15 supply mark, but really MC just keeping a good eye out to make sure there's not any early pool, because that would be very, very dangerous for him. He'd have to chuck down some emergency buildings to wall off. As it stands though, he can safely go for a Nexus first, and that we can be confident is what MC is going to be aiming to achieve, since he is now pulling down the probe at around the 300 mineral mark. It should be on the cards. MC coming back up into Snute's main just to get a little bit of information, gonna say, okay, yep, well there comes down the spawning pool, take a quick check of the gas, because I know you don't have a natural base as of yet. This probe likely then just to do everything it can to delay the natural base of Snute for as long as possible, and that's generally considered good play. Any delays you knock in after already starting your own natural as a Protoss player is going to be great news for you. So Forge following this up for MC at the moment. He's already got his Nexus as I mentioned, and as we can see he's getting a good way ahead, going for the pylon block too. This is very frustrating now for Snute. Now Cloud Kingdom as well, it's a game that we haven't seen, or a map we haven't seen for quite a long time due to being out of the map pool, but it's the third that can be really quite awkward for Zerg players to hold, and that's because Immortal Sentry all-ins traditionally were very potent. Sentries just as a whole are great at trying to pick this off because of how potent force fields between the hatchery and this area can be. You can get a great position as a Protoss, as well as some interesting positions you can hide proxy pylons in to get quick reinforcements through. Now as we're seeing, Snute is having to deal with that pylon completing, adding a massive delay in. Over, well, 85 seconds is what it's been in total. So Snute, he's got to use these links to clean out this probe and get his third started ASAP. Because Snute, he's already seen what's coming down. He knows the timings and he knows that he's a little bit behind economically. There's no option either for a counterattack, and that's what's going to be very frustrating for Snute. As the cannon is already down and the probe is completing the wall off, just a couple of links wouldn't be able to break through. So therefore, Snute may opt to take a gas a little bit earlier than normal, or he could just try and pump as many drones as he can. But his concern is that he's already oversaturated, as we can see here, at his natural base, at his main base, and therefore needs to start thinking, okay, what am I going to be doing with those drones, especially when 5 more pop out, and his natural base is still quite a way away from completion. This is a smart move though by Snute. He's busy taking out these rocks outside MC's natural base. This can reduce the effectiveness of force fields and really just open up the map to be a little bit more potent with. It's also got good overall placement, just coming in to keep an eye on that third, but also ready to suicide into the main base if needed, just to get a bit more information. But MC currently isn't got any option for teching. His cybernetics core still not done, so really just playing this massively economically focused, and that's alright for him for the time being, because he's actually in a pretty good spot to do so, considering the amount of delays that he caused on Snute's natural and third base. So, +1 is coming down here. This is already starting to look like the very standard Immortal Sentry all-in that we saw in Cloud Kingdom, and continue to see, it would appear, coming down. But no robotic facility as of yet, so we can't guarantee that for the moment, but it does certainly look like there's going to be some pressure being applied here. The other option is that the third base gets taken quite soon, but MC on Cloud Kingdom could struggle to do that, and the reason why Cloud Kingdom isn't a great map to get a quick third on is because of how much open space there is. There's 2 very large entrances coming into that third, so you're left with a bit of a difficult spot to defend. Yes, you can chuck down some buildings to try and close it off along this way, but it's still a very large amount of space where force fields wouldn't be too effective. But MC adding on 3 additional gateways seems to be going in for some 4-gate pressure. This is incredibly similar to what he did game number 1, except it's coming a tad later. And the reason it's coming a little bit later is because obviously there wasn't a double zealot, it wasn't a gateway opening. So MC just gonna have to wait for the time being. Does have a proxy pylon already coming down that Snute is frantically trying to find, but unfortunately not succeeding in doing so for the moment. This is great news for MC, who can continue moving this probe forward. The Lings are going to see the probe now. Will they realise by the positioning that it didn't quite come from the right place, but still manages to drop down another pylon before getting killed? A couple of Lings attempting to suicide to get it down, but will not be successful in doing so with that Stalker chipping away at them. Even more so now that we see the Zealot and the Mothership Core on its way over too. But 7 Roaches, 16 Lings in production, and this is looking very good for Snute in order to defend. Even though +1 has now kicked in for MC, so he will 2-shot those Lings. The Roaches add such an amount of DPS into this composition. MC though, he's still up on the 4 gases, he's got his robotics facility following this up, as well as +1 armor. +1 armor, not +2 attack, simply because there isn't a Twilight Council down, so +2 isn't an option for him. But the Mothership Core, a bit shy of energy in order to get the mass recall, is causing MC to wait. He doesn't want to engage, or while there's the chance that he can't safely retreat if things don't go to plan. Add in the Spore Cooler and Mothership Core, Spore Cooler and Queen rather, and the Mothership Core is going to be in a bit of a tough spot in terms of trying to defend itself from any pressure when it moves in. It's got to be very cautious and could make getting that mass recall down a little bit more tough. Regardless though, Immortal in production, a lot of sentries back at home, and this is just a Frontier scouting force to really just apply a bit of pressure to Snute and force some units out. It's not meant to do much damage, but MC needs to pull back here, can't engage those Roaches with Zealots, and the Speedlings now realizing that MC overstepped the mark a bit, is going to come and try and close up this distance, forcing the mass recall, using that Mothership Core energy, and that's all good news. Zerglings are streaming through. One force field goes down, doesn't manage to trap those Lings though, so they are able to make a hasty retreat. But remember, MC, still with a pylon down out on the map, could go in for some more pressure. Snute, just as in game number 1, is quite low on the drone count considering the time in game, and that's due to how many units have been forced. But he's got good information. He's scouted down that there isn't a third base. He hasn't yet seen in the main to know that these additional gateways are on the way, but MC going completely all in, but trying to duke out Snute a bit by taking out this Overlord. He's trying to say to Snute, I'm taking my third base, I'm gonna get it down, and by sniping off that Overlord, it puts doubt in Snute's mind. But regardless, Snute has the Hydra Den. He's getting the group spine upgrades, which are better defensively, and starting Hydralisk production. Roach Hydra is typically very good against an Immortal and Gateway composition, but will it work out this game? We've got to keep an eye on it because there's going to be a lot of production coming through. MC is completely all in at this stage. He's actually gone up to 8 gateways, and at this stage 8 gates is a lot of production, and he wouldn't easily be able to expand while using all of that production capability. The Mothership Core there as well, although not yet enough energy for a mass recall. But what is available is the option for some time warps, which could be very strong. But Snute, streaming in with some Speedlings, is going to see that the third base is not down, and that should immediately flag up some concerns for him. 8 Hydralisks are in production because he is completely aware that a lot of pressure is going to be coming in. Snootling may be able to cut off some of these reinforcements, but there's a lot of pylons down. We've also got a move in now of the Roaches and Hydras. A couple of the Immortals right at the back, getting surrounded by Lings, but Zealot will be able to save those. Roaches getting taken out, the Hydralisks only remain, and of course without anything to buffer up the damage for them, they are very much glass cannons. MC still moving forward, those force fields stopping him advancing quite when you'd like, buying a bit of time for Snute, who can get into a good defensive position here, but a lot of force fields do still remain. Snute, realizing the gravity of this situation, pulls drones, but to no avail for the time being. The force fields from MC just being so effective. Immortals though starting to die off, and the Hydralisks with an amazing concave able to clean out quite a lot of these units, but is there going to be enough to hold for longer? MC losing quite a few units here, but still warping in. The Mothership Core down now, and the Warp Prison prevents additional warp-ins, and MC being crushed. Snute still in a good spot. He's able to hold off this push, but more reinforcements are going to be coming through. Blink is not researched. 1-1 upgrades done compared to no upgrades currently for Snute. But the other problem Snute has is that he can't chase down these Stalkers easily, causing him a couple of problems. Now, MC, with more units warping in, with Immortals coming back through, can he salvage this game? Well, on the bright side, Snute he doesn't actually have much of an economy to fall back on. He's at 56 drones after droning quite heavily. What that means is that he's never had a great income. MC is already at 45 workers. He's been saturated for a long time. He's got the upgrade lead and is able to keep the drone count down. Maybe he can make things work. But for the moment, Snute having to retreat. MC really has to consider going for either wave 2 and a better engagement, or taking that third base. But Snute keeping a good eye on if the third Nexus gets taken with those 2 Lings. Should be expecting some pressure coming. Production still solely on getting army out now. And really the big thing that we saw in the first engagement as MC moved out was how effective those speedlings coming from behind were. There was only a handful, but they were able to tie up the immortal attention, meaning the roaches could tank more damage and therefore the Hydralisks could deal more damage. This game, Snute shaking things up a bit though. He's getting pathogen glands down, he's getting down the +2 attack, and that's going to actually mean that MC's got less of an upgrade lead than we saw in game number 1, being 1-1 up against 1-0. But with the Infestors coming out, that could lead a lot to being able to try and make this hold. MC, still with no third base, is incredibly all in. His main is starting to get pretty low on minerals, and that's going to start causing him problems if he isn't able to take out the 4th and also the 3rd base. He's got to deal catastrophic damage with this push, and he's opting to go from a different angle. And I quite like this. It reduces the chance that Snute will be able to wrap around. It prevents him from having to fight on this ramp where a great concave could be achieved, and instead takes the fight straight to Snute. But Snute sees it, does manage to get a fungal growth down, forcing the engagement, but the first few force fields are looking good. Most of the zealots tied up in the fungals though prevent them from engaging early on, and while chain fungals are coming through, Snute's army supply now below that of MC's. The Infestors also taking some damage. The fungal growths are going nicely but not killing anything off for the time being, with 8 warp gates worth of production as well. MC pushing in, crushing through a lot of this army, and with the Infestors down, drones being pulled, and a few Hydralisks to tie up the rest, the Immortals dealing all the damage they can, but things looking very good now for MC as he keeps pushing through. If he takes out this 3rd hatchery, things are going to be great for him. Snute cancelled the 4th, knowing this push was coming, but the 3rd hatch is about to go down. The Hydralisk getting prioritized before the hatchery, which is quite a smart move, preventing Snute getting up that critical mass of units. That hatch with only 16 health just needs a couple of shots, will go down, and MC now levels out the base count. He's also very close in army supply, but with more warpins is looking very good. Snute needs to spend his money, but unfortunately isn't able to do so at the moment. Needs to get a lot of production in, but it's what to prioritize. Snute's gas low, so he's forced to make a couple more Lings, and with only 2 hatches worth of production, could be in a tough spot. Snute trying to hold on, has to deal with these Immortals because currently the roaches would just melt, but MC not giving his opponent any time to rack up an army to defend with, pushes straight through. The force field zoning out a lot, but MC's forces also starting to diminish. It's the Immortals, the backbone of this army, the real damage dealers that are helping so much. They managed to push down another queen, the Hydra count getting a little lower, and while there are some sentries coming through, they're also getting taken out very quickly just as they chuck down their first force fields. But regardless, MC seems to have enough stuff now to be able to break through into this natural base, and as the trickle of Zerg reinforcements come through, it's easily dealt with this 1-1 army, even though 2-1 is done. Snute realizing GG's out, and MC will take the game 2-0. So congratulations to MC there. If you enjoyed the cast, make sure that you like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with yet another new game. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.